specifically with this project. We've had other discussions in the Parks and Landscaping Board and some discussions on the BOC, but this one is dedicated just to this playground build project. Today is mostly a data collection phase. So we've got 2 presentations from playground vendors. Each last about an hour on the schedule, and then about 10 or 15 minutes after each for just open questions and answers. At this phase, the data that we would collect, we'll have some more vendors come in after this on a different meeting, and then we'll get into a phase where we start weighing out the different components, what worked, what didn't work, cost effectiveness, maintenance, features, all of those, to basically boil down several presentations into 1 or 2 keys and then pick the best. At that point, it goes back to the Board of Commissioners to see what the recommendation is and say, hey, we like that, we'll go forward, and then we move into basically fundraising and project management for deployment. So today it's mostly data collection, understanding features, function, all those pieces from 2 different vendors. And then at the 8:15, the last block after these presentations, we've got some administrative tasks so that the team members on the core and design teams that are present will come up here, and we're just going to run through some quick updates at this table. Public's welcome to stay and attend and hear that, but it's going to be more administrative tasks about the project, some updates on the website, mailing list, and those kind of things. So with that, I would turn it over to Parker Chipman with Recreational Concepts. He's our first presenter. And then follow that with questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, City of Fairview. Thank you so much for having Rachel and I here this evening, or especially me, and just to share our insights with you, kind of tell you a little history about who we are, our beliefs on a community build and an inclusive playground opportunity here. And I'll tell you, I drove through the town. I got here about an hour early, and I drove through the town and just drove through, went and saw the park. And y'all have a beautiful town and a lot of school spirits. I see the yellow jackets are all over the windows, and I love football, high school, college football. Even though I'm a Tennessee fan, it's been a tough 15 years. But it just looks like just a great, good old town, and it looks like you've got such a big crowd here tonight, and thank you for spending your time with us. So my name is Parker Chipman. I'm the lead consultant with Landscape Structures, Recreational Concepts, and if he could get the volume up just a little bit, this is a short video of kind of how we play at Landscape Structures. I didn't have any I guess the volume. What this video really represents to me, and I hope it was supposed to have some volume there, but what I get out of that video, and which I hope you got out of that video, is look how many different types of people. It doesn't matter how much money you got, if you are whatever ability, disability, whoever you are, whatever age you are. Everybody's just out having fun, and that's what a playground represents. And it brings a community together. It's a place where children can meet children that they don't meet maybe at school, maybe see around the town. And it's just a great time. And I've got 2 children of my own, and even though I sell playgrounds, even before I did, I love going to the playground with my two kids. It's a great time for me to get away from everything, get out and just be in the sunshine and enjoy it. So we were started by Barb and Steve King. And the reason we always bring up the owners of Landscape Structures is they weren't about, how big the company was going to be or how much money they were going to make. Steve King actually did a senior thesis in college on continuous play, and they gave him a C. And his, believe it or not, his professor said that he'll never make it, and he's done pretty well. He is retired now. His wife, he lost his wife, Barb, about 5 years ago, and but he's done very well and is a great representative for the way we sell, the way we believe, and the way we treat our customers. Another thing that's very important to know about him, a lot of playground manufacturers, they're getting bought up by huge conglomerate companies. And so they're still competing against each other, but the big company owns a group of them. He did not sell Landscape Structures, and instead he made it a 100% employee-owned company. So the people that weld the posts for our playgrounds, do the decking, do the molds, any of the artistic stuff, everything that you see in our plant, everybody has ownership of that company. And I got to do a tour in Delano, Minnesota, and it was very eye-opening because I used to compete against Landscape Structures, and they were very hard to compete against, and I really got to see why. And because it's an employee-owned company, people that work there have been working there 20, 30 years. You don't see, I don't really know what my true job is. Everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody takes a lot of pride in it because they have ownership. They're not just getting paid an hour and they're going home. And it makes a big difference. Everybody's excited and everybody's real proud of what we do. And I think that's really important because you don't really see that a lot with a lot of major corporations these days. This is a picture of just the plant in Delano. This is just all the employees that work hard each day to make me look good and make me feel very proud to come up and speak to people every day. And with Recreational Concepts, as Scott introduced me, we are out of Cookeville, Tennessee. We are a playground agency. We do a lot of different things. And Landscape Structures is our playground provider. And I'm a big person of selling locality. The company I worked for prior was a Danish company. It was out of Denmark. Great company, great product, but the locality wasn't there. I live in Murfreesboro, 45 minutes up the road. Cookeville's about an hour and 45 minutes from here, and we're here. If you need anything, if somebody breaks in the park and does something to the park, we're going to be on it. We have an office staff that we do inspections annually at no cost for you. We have warranties that are 100 years old warranties. So all of our posts, our decking, everything has got really good warranties on it as well. But we're really all about our end user, and we're about the people that are purchasing that. And that's two very important things that a lot of people don't bring up. You guys are just as important as the playground going in because we want to make sure that we're cohesive together. Rachel has worked with Dan and Sheila Stewart, which are my two bosses. They won't tell you they're my bosses, but they are. And Sheila could not be here tonight. She had surgery on her cataract, and she didn't want to drive at night. And she is a lot better at speaking than I am, but and she's worked with Rachel. And if you have any questions regarding working with us, she has walked the walk with our company. She has seen it all, and she did a great job working with us. And I would rather her tell you how it was than me telling you how great of a build it was, because I've heard some good things as far as Mary's Magical. But we are committed to serving the end user too, the child. It's the hardest thing in the world. I sell every day, and I can't sell to my end user most of the time, and that's the child. And they don't ever get to really make the decision. And I always see moms or dads, a lot of them, they'll go to the playground and their child's walking on the playground and they're always like, let's go over here, let's go over here. And what I love about this video, you may not have noticed it, but it's a mom and they're just letting their child go. Let them figure it out. They know what they want to do. And you want them to go to that park and play in a different way every time. And they're going to learn differently and they're going to do different things. And they're going to take that and it's going to help them socially, physically. And it's going to make them healthier each day. So we take a lot of pride in being local, being there for you, and making this process as easy as possible. When Rachel called and let us know that this project was about, we got so excited because we just feel like we're a very good fit with inclusive playgrounds. And we've got a lot of reference sites that we've already worked with, and we love it. It's a great opportunity to be involved with a town such as Fairview and build something together to create for children of all abilities. And what I'm going to do today is show you a couple of designs that we've done in the past, and just kind of picking your brain and letting you kind of see what's out there. But what I really want you to see is all the different types of play activity that you can put in one park. So prescribed play is, I stick a piece of equipment, it's got a ramp, goes to a slide, child goes 2 or 3 times, and then he's like, well, I've done that about 4 or 5 times, I want to do something else. And if they don't have anything else to do, that's when they get bored. And then that's when they're tugging on your shirt and they're ready to leave. So you want to build a playground that is multi-generational. You want that play value, and that play value is going to keep those children there for a long time, which as a parent, it's what we want. We want them to play for a long time and wear out so they can sleep good that night. But we also want equipment that mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, they can play with them together. And you also want a playground where you want all children of all abilities to be on one piece of playground equipment together, like a basket swing. We call it an oodle swing. And you can fit multiple children on there, and they can all swing together and enjoy it in the same way. Doesn't matter what grade you're in or what ability you have or disability you have. And there's great pieces out there that are very inclusive. I'm going to show one here in just a minute. So comparing apples to oranges, I would start with just our quality, and not just the quality in our products, the quality in our service, as I talked about, just the locality of who we are. We've got a lot of playgrounds. All the designs that we'll be doing and working with you if you choose us. We don't charge you fees for design works, 2D, site plans, inspections. If you got a CPSI, which that's a certified playground safety inspector out here each year, they would charge you a lot of money to make sure that playground is compliant and you're not going to get sued. And we do that annually. You call us, let us know a good time of the year to come out. We'll come out. We have CPSI certified installers. They'll check the playground. We will not charge you one dime for it. And we like to do that because we want to make sure y'all get the longevity of that playground and that it's going to be safe, and you want that in a playground. Also, as far as quality, we want you to have the best after the sale. From when it comes off the truck, the company I used to work for, I'm not going to name names, but it used to come off the truck and it was in a big crate, and there was stuff everywhere, and it was shipped from the Czech Republic, and it was just everywhere. I've worked playgrounds where 2 companies got the business, and it was kind of half and half, and I saw their truck coming. I was like, it was stuff everywhere. There was no directions, and I want you to know that everything that's made is made in our plant, from the post to the decking. We do not store equipment. If you order a playground from us, it's not going to be someone else's that's been used before. We manufacture every playground for the customer. So the reason I didn't bring a design and put your Fairview on there, this is going to be your playground. We're going to take notes, and we're going to get your beliefs, what you want it to be, how many children you want it on the same time, all of those facts. We're going to gather that, and we're going to work with you, and then we're going to build it, because this is going to be your playground, and we want to build it just for the end user. So just showing you how our equipment is shipped out. Everything is pre-wrapped. It's very organized from the hardware to the post, everything. Our instructions, a lot of companies, their instructions are just measurements. Ours have individual pictures of each one. And because we manufacture everything in the same area, if you need a part, you need anything replaced, we got it right there. Everything comes out of the same area, and it makes it a lot easier for the customer. Another thing I forgot to go over, we call it retrofit. So I know you've had a playground. I read that the last playground here was 20 years. It's a long time. And that means y'all kept it good. It means it's been a lot of fun for a lot of families. And I know I've seen Mr. Leathers on things, and he has got a lot of playgrounds in Tennessee, and it's a great company. The thing I will say with landscape structures that is something that I couldn't do at the last company I worked for. It's called retrofit. We've kept records from 1971 all the way to present on every playground we've sold. So 20, 30 years from now, if a panel's fading, if decking is getting a little tiring, you need anything, we could actually come in and replace every panel, everything on it, and we have records of it. So instead of taking it all out of the ground, starting from scratch, we can order every component, every piece of part 20, 30, 40 years from now and ship it right here, get it installed. There's a church in Franklin. I'm trying to remember the name of it. We just did a retrofit on it. It was a 15-year-old landscape structures, and we replaced every panel on it for under $7,000. So more than taking it out, spending about $20, it saved them a ton of money. And our warranties, we think we're the best in the industry. Our posts have a 100-year warranty. A lot of companies say lifetime. Well, what's a lifetime? You know, we want everything documented and critiqued. So we want your post and everything that's manufactured on there to last. Children don't look at a post. They don't play on a post. Just like a house. A lot of people, when they go look at their house, my dad's a general contractor. He goes straight to the attic. My wife and I are in the kitchen. We just built our first home. We're looking at the kitchens and if I got a back porch and all that, where am I going to fit my grill? He goes up and looks at how it's framed, how it's insulated, all those things. So we want to make sure that the product, the posts, the decking that the child's on is made very, very well and lasts you a long time. So we put really good warranties on it. And then after the sale, like I said, we give 1% of the cost of the playground for your parts. That's your paint, your powder-coated paint to everything that has a 5 or 10 year warranty or things that you can replace at a very low cost. So if something like that happens, we give you that money for those costs, whether it's like a chain for a swing or something simple like that. So we give that money back. We started that this year. And then, as I said, the free audits and the free safety inspections will come out. Jason Stewart is one of our managers out of Park and Rec Director in Knoxville. Called me. It's a beautiful park. And he had a spring on, there's an old piece of equipment. Those little springers that the kids get on. And I called Jason. I said, we'll get it fixed. Send me a picture. I called Jason. He had already ordered it. He went to the park with that. We didn't even know he went there. But when he's in your area, if he's in the Nashville area, Dixon, Murfreesboro, where I live, he'll swing by the playground even unannounced and make sure everything looks good. And if something's wrong, he'll go ahead and tackle it. So we really, really love the after-sale process, and we want to take care of our customers because we want returning customers for sure. Production First Custom, a lot of playground companies, like I said, they store posts, they store panels, they outsource. I know you know what outsource means. Like it could be a company that makes just slides for them. It could be a panel made in this part of the world and shipped over. And then they store it, and then they order it out of a catalog, and they put it together. Like I said, we literally make every playground for every customer. So when you get that, it was made just for you, put together all the same. So the reason that's important is if you want to, whatever color, whatever change, whatever way you want to customize it. I saw the big squirrels on the entrance of the park. We can make whatever you'd like to do. If you can think of it and dream it and come and get it together, we can do it for you. So, and that's because we manufacture it at the plant. This is our design team, one of the largest in the country. I love designers. And I have customers call me all the time. There's a little town called Summertown. It's outside Lawrenceburg. And this little girl, she is like young teacher, and she is like a go-getter. Kind of like I heard about you, Rachel. And I bet I've done 12 to 15 revisions for her. And it's because they have a real small space, and she wants a complete sensory playground, nothing but sensory equipment. And she keeps telling me, Parker, I know I'm getting on your nerves. We love to do that. If we had to do 15 different renderings, we're going to get it to where everybody in this room is happy, excited, and they know what's coming is going to be an awesome experience for everybody. So we love our designers because they can turn things around very quickly. And we have a design department that only does custom playgrounds. So as custom as you want to go, we have a department that just does that. And Scott, let me know on my time. Colors, we love color. It looks like all the yellow jackets. We can match your school colors. To me, it looked like a very natural environment out there, a lot of trees, and you have the horse track and everything. So you may want to use some greens. We have a nature-themed playground equipment that, like the slide, is literally a tree trunk. It looks like a tree trunk, and we paint animals and birds and make it phenomenal. So, so we can do whatever theme you want, whatever color. Inclusive playgrounds. So when you do this, if you really want to call this an inclusive, all-inclusive playground, you know, people are going to be like, well, how do you know it's all-inclusive? We actually have a group of people that we have inclusive design reports. Every piece of playground equipment that you buy from us, you're going to get a handwritten report on why that piece is inclusive and what components are inclusive with that piece. And you can have it, and that way everybody in the community knows exactly what each thing does and how their child is going to advantage of it and how they're going to learn socially and cognitively. But these are just shows you all the different arts, languages and literacy, motor planning, nature, music. We have a music line. Music is huge. Children, they love the Rhapsody equipment we have, and it's awesome stuff. So we want to bring all that together in one so everybody has something to do. Once again, he did a great job back here, at least getting me going, but I wish I had a volume. This is our brand new We-Go-Round. This is made for children. It holds up to 3 wheelchairs, and they can spin themselves if they do have upper limb strength from the inside. They also can get, they can spin other children around, or children can spin it like a merry-go-round. It is a surface mount. If you notice on the sides where the school bus is, we can design those to wherever you want. It's called Digifuse. So if y'all have a theme, we can do all the panels around this in whatever theme you'd like. It could be a yellow jacket on the side. It could be whatever the town wants, whatever theme you're looking for, and we can make those panels custom for you as well. This is a video of it, and one of the ladies on here that is wheelchair bound, she actually goes all around the world and does inclusive. She's right here. She is tough. Let's do this. Isn't that cool? But as you can see, a lot of different children there. Everybody's happy. Everybody's getting the same enjoyment. And that's inclusion. That is we're very excited to have it. There is a lot of work that went into this, and it's a big piece of equipment. So we're really, really excited to have it, and I think it would be great to have. So commitment to our playgrounds. I'm going to show you just a few things. One thing I love that you said, Scott, earlier is you guys get out and go look at playgrounds. Go look, touch, feel, get on them. How many did y'all visit? Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Like a similar piece. Yeah, we travel throughout the state.
Well, you have, Hendersonville, Short Drive, Murfreesboro. I'll show you some of these sites, but we've got a lot of parks here that you guys can go and visit. Take your children, grandchildren, nephews, and nieces. But get out and see the stuff. See what the kids are playing on. You're going to notice that you're going to see a lot more climbing these days. The old monkey bars, I love them. I played on them too. But net climbing has gotten very, very big. Children love the net climbing. And then we make domes and space nets and all kinds of different things. So really notice what children are doing. Spinning is very important. Just like that wheel around for vestibular stimulation. Children love to spin. And a lot of you really young children haven't developed their inner ear. And so that's why a lot of young children, when you spin them around, they don't get sick like we would. It actually is very calming. And we put a lot of spinning equipment in autism centers, and children love it. And they do develop with it as well. Take your battery on your remote. There it goes. Well, there's your playground. So this is Mary's. Our biggest problem that we find every year, we're growing every year, we're getting more on the ground, but we want more of these. And what I love about Mary's and what I've always heard from Dan and Sheila is people come here from out of state, Kentucky, bordering states, and people are lined up when the gates open. What time does the gates open, do you know? 8 a.m. Dan said he went one morning and there were kids lined up to get in here from everywhere. And they stay all day. And it's because it's a multi-generational area. Everybody put in that thought of let's include everything in one area where everybody can come and spend a long time. And if you notice also shade, a lot of people forget shade. And just make sure that you incorporate shade in your playground as well. Well, it's I've been to it a couple of times, of course, but I try to work more than play. But if you haven't seen it, it really is a neat thing. But shade's nice in Tennessee, especially when you have the first week of October and it's 98 degrees. So this is a video. This is in Delano, Minnesota, right outside of our. And this is an inclusive playground for a little girl named Madison. I got to see it, and it's a lot of equipment. But I just want you to notice all the different components. That's a sensory wall where you walk in and the sun hits it. Children can see all the different
impact has been greater than we ever anticipated. Wonderful. Not
Our
only
zip cruises.
coming to the playground.
There's one of these in McKnight Park. I live 2 minutes from it. We go every day. It's a lot of fun.
We're hearing our families coming out in between our occupational visits.
So this is a girl. This is the one that you can saddle, and then there's one that a wheelchair ADA. Mm-hmm.
Friends with kids.
Omni Spinner, very inclusive piece of equipment as well. Notice the ramps, very wide ramps. That way children are going to be running and playing tag, so you definitely want. And then you can see the seat. And I promise you, you can't put enough of these on a playground. They line up every day. I pass it every day, and there's children sitting there. And my boy he does not like to wait, and he gets mad every time. But very safe, very smooth. The ride isn't like, I remember swinging off grapevines, but it's just a very smooth, enjoyable ride. It's not my 2-year-old daughter gets in my lap, and we do it. So, just showing you, I hope you saw a lot of different components there. We have a lot of partnerships and alliances, and this is what makes us so data-driven and really have a full understanding of how to build an inclusive playground. Like the Miracle League, which was Murfreesboro here, Kaboom. We have a big project coming up with the Predators here in Nashville, and it's a community build with the Nashville Predators, and I'm going to try my best to stay out of the news and the camera. I don't want to scare the news off, but we're going to do that in November. But Shane's Inspiration, these are huge organizations that we have alliances with, and these are all feel-good stories, guys. It's incredible. And so by partnering with all these, they teach us so much about how to build inclusive playgrounds and thinking outside of the box and doing the good for a lot of different towns and projects. Certifications, we come in and we put your playground in, or we sell you a piece of playground equipment. Everything has to meet an ASTM or a standard. So all these are the big standards you're taken care of. Nothing is going to come that you're going to be in trouble or sued over. So everything's PEMA certified, and ASTM is the playground manufacturing standard. Purchasing contracts. Do you guys purchase anything off of a purchasing cooperative? Does anybody know what a purchasing cooperative is? Okay, well, purchasing cooperative is where it's really like it's already been bidded. So when you have to put a bid out, it costs you money and it costs you time. These are already been bid. So we've already given them a discounted price on all these cooperatives, and then they take a bid on it, and then they choose the companies that they want to go with. So by going through a cooperative, it allows the town of Fairview to not have to take 3 bids. You get to save that time. You get a discounted product, and it's from a company that's already taken care of that process. So it's an easy way to not have to bid it out. You're more than welcome to take 3 bids. I know y'all went out and bid it out, and Rachel, you may want to talk about that experience and what you would do if you did it again. And this is a very visual-driven world, especially for our children. And I'm very guilty of that. They get on their iPad, but a lot of people buy off a sheet of paper. Really, really take the time and look. If it's 3 companies, 5 companies, really take a deep look on how everything's made, manufactured, their warranties, that the after-sale program, you want to be taken care of, and you want to make sure that playground has a longevity to it. And then you want to make sure that all your questions and your boxes are checked before that playground's ordered, because it's a process, and there's a lot that goes into it. And please make sure that we're on the same page with that. This is just a couple of playgrounds I was going to show you. This is actually a church in Maryville, and it's called First Apostolic, and it's a castle-themed playground. Everything on it is castle-themed, and this lady that runs it, you just say yes, ma'am, and you just do whatever she says. So she's a tough one, and we represented all the countries that their church believes in, and so everything is custom to those countries, and it's different countries of different sections of the playground. And I'll be more than happy if anybody needs me to email these. These have their reference names, their phone numbers. Please reach out to all these customers. Ask them questions, how it was working with us. Do the kids like it? Did they get their money's worth? All that. Then you have Lausanne School in Memphis. Anybody from West Tennessee? I actually grew up in West Tennessee. My school didn't have a playground like this. I grew up in Ripley, Tennessee. We were lucky to have one piece of playground equipment. We were on pea gravel, but this is a really, really neat opportunity for us, and we got to work with Lausanne School as well. This is the city of Sevierville. This just shows you the power of shade structures, and this is a huge shade structure in the center, and that's a space net that goes under it. And there's a lot of music play there, but really cool park. So if you're going on fall break, I think y'all have already been through fall break, but if you're going up to the mountains, we have a lot of playgrounds in Sevierville, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge. We've done some Alcoa, Knoxville. The Alcoa is a real nice one too. And this is the city of Versailles, 2 minutes from my house. I'll meet you out there. My cell phone's on. I'm going to give you jump drives. It's got everything on there, and my business card. If you're in Murfreesboro, give me a shout. I travel a lot, but if I'm in the area, I'll take you around, and we'll get on the zip cruises. And I'm a big 40-year-old kid, so I'll get out there with you and take a look as well. Right off of 231. And this is Mary's, and the reason I'm leaving this at the end, and I keep representing is because Rachel reached out to us, and I know she's brought us up to you, and I hope when I go one day, when I do, it's kind of about what you did and not what you said. And my wife, I had surgery one time, and I couldn't talk for a week because I had abscess on the eustachian of my, like my tonsils, or long story short, I couldn't talk for a week, and my wife says the best week of her life. So I had to write on the board. I thought I was going to come out singing like Lionel Richie or something, but I still had this voice. But long story short, I talk a lot. I know I'm kind of bouncy and go all over, and I know I've said and put a lot of stuff to you, but really the most important thing is what she can share, and I can email you these references. Call our customers, because it's more about what they say and what we've done than what I've said today, because I know we're a good company, and that's why I went to work for this company, because I loved how Dan and Sheila Stewart sold. They were customer driven. They didn't go in there and said, oh yeah, we'll cut the price. And they really, truly, we really want to be part of this community. We want to work and be cohesive with you. We want to make sure we meet all of your needs. We want to make sure that whatever goes in that ground is going to last, and your children are going to play on it for a long time, and you're going to have I really think if you do it the right way, I think you're going to have kids from Nashville, Mount Juliet, and I think they'll come into here because you're right there off the interstate, and I think you're going to have a lot of cities and towns that'll play at this park if you do it the right way and make sure there's a lot of activity to do, and shade. And but Mary's is I wish I would have gotten I was actually trying to get Mary's, and Dan and Sheila got it before I could, and I know why. And they loved it. They put all they had to in it, and we just were thankful to have Rachel and what it all represented. Last thing, Scott, I would like you to give you an invitation for a leave. We call it a play tour. We'd like you to find a select group of people. We fly you. We pay for your airfare. We want you to see grounds. We want you to tour a plant, meet our president. We want you to see everybody that welds, the people that paint the posts, talk to them, ask them questions, and we'd love to get you up there. On a play tour. We're working with a lot of people just here locally that have already been on them. They loved them. McKnight Park, Murfreesboro, they went on one, and the Park and Rec director and I are good buddies, and he said he had an amazing experience. I got to do one as a sales rep, and we do one. I talked to Sheila and Dan today, and if you want to get a group, it's a very quick flight and come back. We don't want to hold you off, but we want you to really, really see what we're all about. And when you tour that plant and see it and how it's made and what we stand by, I think it'll really open up a lot to you. So I wanted to leave you with that. And the last thing is what I hope I could be good at is answering your questions and letting you guys talk for once and not hearing my old crow voice. Rachel, do you have anything? Sure. Okay, surfacing. Okay, so everyone sells. Sure. Sure. So every playground manufacturer, with Mr. Leathers or whoever comes in, everybody has most of the playground safety services. For an all-inclusive playground, port in place is wonderful, very ADA accessible, and we sell playground grass through Forever Lawn. It's coming out of Georgia. And, the kind we sold at Mary's, it's static resistant. So children, yes, they would. Also, children shock each other on a lot of grasses, so we put a lot of it down. We have a lot of it in the state. Our newest install was in Crossville, Tennessee. But playground grass, what I like better about it, it's got a 10-year warranty versus a 5-year warranty. Port in place gets hot. We just went over port in place at a school. It gets too hot, and we actually took foam board and then put the playground grass over it. It was already standard. It was already put in, but it was getting too hot on the children's feet. Grass can get hot if it's in the direct sun in August. But once a child puts their foot there, it will cool down. Under port in place, it is just black rubber. It doesn't cool down. It doesn't probably this time of year, but it has a 5-year warranty. It does. You have to have shade. I'm not saying it's not great, but the playground grass is more affordable, $2 to $3 less a square foot. It's cooler. I think it's more inclusive. When I was in Sevierville, I saw a family had a wheelchair impaired child, had no upper limb strength. I can't walk in a suit and video. There's a child out there resting on the news. I wish I would have had a video. He laid, the look on his face was a real pretty sunny day. He was having the best time just laying down. I got a piece of my garage. I got cut off of a site. I wanted it in my man's garage fridge. My kids go out and it's just a little square piece, and they fight over who can stand on it. It's real comforting to children. And I just think it's very accessible. It doesn't crack. After a certain amount of years, board in place can crack and come off your curb. And in the slides, we had to replace it. You could put a shape or object so it would match a lot better. But if it's in an area that it's not in the slide, you either put a shape or you put that same color, and it starts looking like a distance. So it's very costly. I'm preppy construction. I know more of the playground equipment side. And I know Rachel wants me to really get, if Jason that's got a beard and I mean if he's got the big dually truck and he can come in here and we can talk installs and really get in the nuts and bolts. Sheila and Dan, I'm more on the playground side, but I know and I've seen how children respond to it. And I think for the money, it is the best for an inclusive playground. I think your children will love it. And it's very repairable. It's a lot easier. If you add on equipment, you peel it back like carpet, dig another footer, go around any of the existing equipment. But thank you for bringing that up, Rachel. Anything else? Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, so a community build would definitely that's a good question on the warranties on the community build. I've never been a part of one. I know we do community builds a lot. Like I said, Kaboom, we'll be doing that one. We do sell a lot of playground equipment for community builds, so we do have that option. We would probably recommend either a supervised build that would not cost as much as turnkey, and we would have our professional installers out there with you and guiding you and making sure everybody's got their directions and everybody's on task. And if somebody's putting in a screw or a bolt wrong, we're there to make sure it's, everything looks right. That's another option. The third option is, of course, the turnkey. And if the money's there, that's going to be my highest recommendation, because we know when we leave that site, everything is going to be left compliant. It's going to be done right, and a child's not going to get hurt or something. But yeah, absolutely, the cost differences are it is a fee for us to come out, and I think that fee is just the knowing every night, and when your kids go to it the next day, that it was put in the exact correct way. But yes, we do support a community build. But we would recommend either a supervised, and we can put that price in for both. We can give you 3 options, and that's what I was telling Scott earlier. When we put our quotes together and get to that section, we'll be more than happy. That's a great question, by the way. Yes, ma'am. What would you say? First of all, is how it's as expected. Most playgrounds 15 to 20 years. And that's a good longevity of it. But most of the time, playgrounds are replaced by your slides, by your panels or the sides of your playgrounds. They fade, they start cracking. We really don't have a lot of issues with our decking, but some companies use a rubber deck. It's like a PVC coating decking. It's called punch steel decking, and sometimes that PVC comes back, it gets weathered, and it rusts, and you can get some damage there. But most of the time, it's your panels, it's your inexpensive things, it's surfacing that's not taken care of. It's all about how it's taken care of. You got a baseball team that gets off of a bus, and has metal cleats and they're going down and stepping on the slide, that's going to probably damage some things. But I think it's just how the community does. But 15 to 20 years is good, and it shows you Mr. Leather's quality. And 20 years is a long time. I've kept it good. And the retrofit, I can't tell you how excited that pastor was the other day over here in Franklin. He didn't have to take it out of the ground. He didn't have to. All he did was we changed the color for it. We had all the original documents. It was like 15 years old, and I had him a quote within like 2 to 3 days. He said, "Man, this is like awesome. We got this right now." Signed off on it. Our turnarounds typically are 4 weeks. Right now, sometimes during the quiet times, like at the end of the year, right now we have 2-week turnarounds on regular. So we've got, and that's because everything's coming out of the same place, and we can get it to you.
Or a track
Yes.
on that new one.
Yes. That's correct. That's correct. But like I said, most playgrounds, surfacing, they'll come in, I'll get a call for servicing. They're like, wow, while you're here, what do you think about this whole thing? And it's like a 1975, little spider thing, like a dome that we all play with. And it'll be something like that, or a little metal. And I'll end up, pricing things for them. But our posts are going to be there, our decking. Those are the two most expensive. And like I said, 20 years from now, you get something in 4 weeks that costs less than a fourth of what you paid for it. You can replace it, change the color, have a brand new playground. And like I said, we've got documents back to the 70s. So it's a good question.
Where in the life cycle
Yeah.
is you're going to have to replace some things to get to 20 years, or you get to 20 years?
I think you're going to have to definitely, color. Somebody comes over and tells you something. A red panel is not going to fade over an amount of years. They're crazy. Red will fade. It'll be pink. He's laughing. Yeah, it's your darker colors last a little bit longer. But it's how much sunlight. If you don't have a lot of shade and just sitting out there blistering every day, weather, erosion. If we get a big flood, the curves move. I didn't know street curves could, but it was so much water when that flood happened that it moved the curves. We had to literally dig everything out and come back. So, Mother Nature comes in there and things can happen, but it's kept good and it's maintained. I think you would have to order minor things that are not more cost effective than a post or something that we'd have to dig a footer out and reinstall something. But yeah, things are going to fade and things are going to happen. But and it may be a section of the playground that gets more sun than the other one. Maybe a kid damages a slide, or goes down, does something wrong, or gets a saw. There's crazy things out there that we get calls for. But I think it's a pretty good community. I think where the playground is really, really well kept and unique place. That's why it's lasted 20 years. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. So that's a good. I'd say 10 to 15 for your panels. My wife is a financial advisor, thank the good Lord. I am not a business-minded guy. He might can explain it better than me as well. It's where you go and you already bid out through a government agency. They get everything that we sell a price, and we have to discount it, and then they approve that discount. So by doing that, if you choose landscape structures, you will sign up for that cooperative, or the city might be on one of the cooperatives that we have, that you purchase more playground equipment on. It could be vehicles, it could be desks for schools, it could be Cisco systems, do all the mats and the uniform. They're on a lot of them, and it's just a way to purchase without having to spend the money and time to do the bid process. Matters how urgent you want, matters your budget, but
so your bid.
Absolutely. We can give you a number. If you're not even on that cooperative, it's like signing up for a Gmail account. It takes like 10 minutes. We have people that all they do is talk about cooperatives every day. I can get you on the phone with them, and they will sound a lot more smarter than I am right now. But I saw a lot of schools. I've worked with schools prior to this job, and any nonprofit, municipality, schools, churches, over 347 go through cooperative.
And could a turnkey solution
Every bit of it.
which is everything?
Everything.
It's not like we would have
The whole, the whole shebang. Every bit of it. We're working with the city right now with the splash pad, playground. I mean, it's the whole thing, and we have a splash pad. We own a splash pad company, so we're able to do literally everything for your park turnkey. So, and I'll find out more on the community bill, like, you know, warranties and all that. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that. I don't want to tell you something that I don't 100% know. So. I like you already. You got measurements. I like you already. Okay, 13,200 square feet. Okay. Playground grass. Are you talking about surfacing? That is a.
I'll get ahead of that.
Yeah, she.
We started small, but then we were like, oh, we want this, and we want this. Oh, more money's coming.
Like building a house. I like a Viking range. I like a Sub-Zero refrigerator. Biggest argument I ever got with my wife building our home is the kitchen. I love the kitchen. We hang out there. We're always cooking. And I couldn't afford what I wanted. And we sat, and we were there. That woman thought we were going to get a divorce there. She goes, y'all, I may just give you a discount just so you can get it. And it's because I wanted it. I knew I was going to use this the most. And we ended up getting the road. But it's exactly like if you were building a kitchen and you want to buy it. You start, you're like, we'll do good. You're going to know very quickly with both of these companies, you're going to see the stuff. And everything you love and things are going to be the things that are going to, you know, you can spend money very quickly. So the reason I can't just answer that, I don't know what type of equipment. That's our job to ask those questions when we get later on in the process. Then we can start bit and pieces and show you what retail costs are. Then we start putting it in that area and seeing what fits. And then I know you're gonna love this. We're gonna revise it several times until everything's turned right. She can tell you there. Don't worry, you're gonna be like, you're gonna think we do it every day, but it really starts with just really finding out what you really are looking for. For you, but we really love to put that into your then we'll start doing the fun stuff, and you'll be on so many YouTube videos, and we'll get you pricing and all that good stuff. $500,000 very quickly. So yeah, all turnkey, all in, installed freight. You can do 300,000, 200. I can already look at a lot of the faces and how passionate this town is. You're going to have a budget, but you're going to want 13,200. I'm going to remember that too. But you're going to want to fill every bit of that up, and fill up the more surfacing. That's a good. There's no way I could answer it. On every piece. Okay, so that would be. We send you documentation and pricing and all. Everything you're going to get a form that'll explain. So you can sit up in here. You'll sound a lot smarter than me. You'll have the form and all that stuff. And like I said, all of our designs, if we do all of our site plans, all of our site visits, that's what I get paid for, is to go out and make sure you get what you want. Really scan children, put them on there. So we're gonna make it as real. We'll take a picture of your playground and it'll be in the background. It'll literally be the park. We'll probably do a fly-through video. So when we get to the very end, you'll be able to pop up here with City Hall, and you'll have a complete fly-through of everything, what everything does, and just.
And then one more thing is about
use zones, your use zones. So you know, every piece has got a different use zones, but a use zone is like the air, so you got these playground equipment, there's an area that's it's an imaginary, invisible area, but if you go inside that area with another piece of equipment, you can't, it's not supplied, that means you can't go inside. First site plan, you'd be like, God, look at all this room. There's a swing set off. There's a swing set all the way over here. Why did he put this here? The swings, like an 8-foot base swing, love them. Kids love them. They take up. You don't have to worry about that. We're hopefully going to stay away from weeds. Don't have big old holes, and you have to get playground mats, and it makes a big gully if it's not maintained, and stuff's flying everywhere. But yeah, you'll see some things on some site plans. Just know that things are put on there in turn for that purpose. Glad Rachel's here. I should have just gotten her. I wish Sheila would have been here. She does inclusive presentations all over the place. She's so much, I mean, I'm more of your traditional equipment kind of guy, and I love doing, you know, with architects and engineers and stuff, but I hope I've done a decent job trying to get your questions answered. And like I said, I've been selling playgrounds for about 6 years, but still very new to landscape structures. But I can tell you everything I've seen, and this is coming from a person that used to compete against them. They do things very, very well, very right, and they have people that make it that love it just as much as I do. And that's, to me, the most important thing, because you're getting something that is made with a lot of pride, and they want your children to enjoy it. I don't know if that's the last. I think that's the last one. Anybody got anything else? You can crack a joke at me, whatever you want. I'm pretty tough. How many people live in the community here? I should have looked that up. I didn't do my research. 8, 9. That's the same size as my hometown. Number one place in my small town, Ripley. I don't know if y'all know where Ripley, Tennessee is, north of Memphis. Got good tomatoes. I like tomatoes. About all we got. Let's see that. But the most used area in the whole town. Ain't it? They've got a city pool. People from a lot of small towns off of Highway 51 right there on the river. Unemployment, a lot of very high unemployment, but money to go play. People in, right? And when they're playing, they go in the pool and buy some Dippin' Dots, buy things. It draws money, it draws interest. Mm-hmm. That's correct. We would have to supply that separately. You have a lot of. Yep. You know, I don't like telling people no, and I'm not going to. We like I said, we do them, and I'm not saying they don't work. They worked last time for you guys. It's 20 years. It's pretty good. Y'all had some good people out there, but they can go wrong as well. I've seen some that. I've actually walked it with one of our installers, and he pointed things and saw things. They weren't bad, but I think a supervised or a turnkey is a fun way. If you want to be more involved, I would highly suggest a supervised. If you want to really close your eyes at the end of every night and know that it's done right, it's nice having our guys sitting there with all of our offloaders and they know what they're doing. CPSI class is too long, 8-hour days. Hardest person, well, I'm not done, but that's the hardest test I've ever taken in my life. Very, very hard. You have to really know what you're doing. All those people that we will bring out there, they're going to be professional. They'll make sure that it's done, whether it's a supervised or it's a turnkey. Yeah, definitely turnkey is you're going to be your easiest. You don't want a bad surfacing job. I've got some collateral. I'll be more than, do I leave that with, what would y'all like? I've got business cards. World's getting fancier now. We have jump drives. And I actually individually did 20 of them. I think it's right at 20 or over. And everybody will pass it. This has got all of our contacts on it. Our main catalog, our inclusive folder that has all about LSI inclusion. It's got surfacing stuff in it, all kinds of information. I also have some hand collateral with our warranties and all that. Okay. I want to end by, as any salesman would be, Mr. Weathers is going to tell you the same thing, hopefully. Well, I want your business. I'll have a better voice next time too. My kids got it.
So our next presentation is Mark Leathers, Leathers and Associates. He'll come up and give a similar presentation. It's quite helpful for me to see these the nomenclature and understand a little bit more about some of these slides, so I'm anxious to go through those drives. I would encourage anybody who's got further interest to grab one and scroll the catalog.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Mark Leathers. I'm the owner of Leathers and Associates. It's a family business. My dad started it where he did the first playground that you guys have. And we're pretty unique in the business, so I'll kind of go through things a little bit. I'm going to go pretty quick. I'm going to make some assumptions here that because we've been in your community and you have an existing playground or had, that you know a little bit about us. So I'm going to kind of go through things. What I really wanted out of this was to make sure when we get to the end of this that we can have any questions that you have answered while I'm here and kind of go through that. So quick history, ironically, so these are fun facts for me at least. So I've been doing this quite a while. I didn't cut my hair this short. I'm working on my jokes. 1971, that's when Steve King started Landscape Structures and my dad started Leathers and Associates. So those two started at the same time. One thing I'll say about both of them, they're extremely passionate about play. I mean, they dedicated their lives to like helping communities and helping children have great environments and great parks and playgrounds where kids can go out and just change communities. So both of them are pretty amazing people in my mind. So I've been fortunate enough, obviously, to grow up in this family business. So 1971, the first playground we did is the upper right-hand corner. You can barely see it. Community built, that was the first one. That's literally what we're about, given the opportunity. We want to try to connect people. Yes, the playground matters. What you leave behind matters. It's important how it's designed, that it meets the standards. But we're trying to change the world, literally. Simple as that. So I forgot, we just had one, they posted, their playground's 21 years old. I think the quote was something like 2 generations of memories. You know, that's what we're trying to accomplish in the middle of this. So there are options. We now do other things besides community build, but our heart and soul and our passion is how to connect this community again and get everybody back, get everybody involved, meet your neighbors, save a lot of money, and do something that's truly incredible that lasts for generations. So a lot's changed over all these years. The lower left corner is a replacement for the first playground, which is no longer a school. So those change, obviously, over time. And then the one in the lower right is kind of where we're at today. Little bit of history. So you have one of our playgrounds, all wood. That's how we started. Very cheap. A lot of it you could get donated. Pretty amazing. 20 years, that's remarkable. Most manufacturers, most of them don't say 20 years, let's put it that way. 10, 15 years, maybe tops. You know, our playgrounds that were wood, they're 20 years. You know as well as I do, after 10 years or 15 years, the maintenance started to become a lot of work. So yes, the last 5 years was probably nonstop, weekly, daily, going out and trying to repair things. So wood has a weak point to it. Combine that with the arsenic that was treated, so about 2002, somewhere that became a real hot topic. Add a little maintenance to that, and it's right about when I bought the company from my dad and kind of went through that era of transitioning from wood to plastic, but I didn't want to lose our heart and our soul and our design abilities. So we spent a lot of time. I know every plastic company in the United States. So I know everything about their products. I know exactly how to use them. I know what their strengths and weaknesses are. So it took quite a while, probably about 10 years for us to fully pull the trigger to do all plastic playgrounds and be proud of what we left behind. But the results are pretty remarkable. So that's the biggest change is really wood to plastic. We know Trex, which is the composite material that everybody's kind of knows the most. We were with them when they started that company. So we used that for a long time. Now we're kind of even past that. There's a couple other products out there that are absolutely remarkable and perfect for what we do. Unfortunately, they're a little bit expensive, so it puts us up there with everybody else rather than being able to get wood. So that's really about the biggest change in what we do. Other than that, you know, we do everything the same. We're trying to meet with you, meet with the kids, get the design ideas from you, and develop a complete play environment, you know, based off of that, and we can literally do anything. So, you know, we don't have a factory, everything shows up as plastic lumber, you know, and we build it. That's what we do. We're designers. Aside from the material, the world's changed around us as far as safety goes. When we started, there were no safety rules. We wrote our own manual. Now there's ASTM, a couple others, CPSC, ADA is now law. All those things continually have evolved, and we evolved with them. I sit on the ASTM committee. I passed that test 5, 6, 7 times, 6 times now. I'm due again, and yes, it's a pain, but it's necessary. You know, if we're going to do what we do, especially being who we are, we're tiny. You know, we're the tip of the pin out of all the playground companies. We are not big at all. You know, but our products are the most popular. They draw people from all over the place. We get calls and emails every day almost telling people they're taking a trip and they come, hey, where's one of your playgrounds? I'm going here to here, you know, so that they can stop and play for a little bit with the kids. So they're very popular for the size of what we do, especially. So ASTM, CPSC, ADA, everything related to this, one of the questions that comes up is, can you do community and build? Can you do custom design in today's world? Can it be safe? Will it last? The answer is absolutely yes. I might be the only one that says it, or our company or a few others, so people are a little speculative in this kind of way the world is today, but I'm guaranteeing you it can be done. Every playground that we do meets all the standards. Maintenance, that's one of the biggest issues. You know, we got a lot of playgrounds out there that are all out of wood, and those are transitioning just like yours. So we have worked with hundreds and hundreds by now of communities that have, unfortunately, and I say that, had to replace their wooden playgrounds because it hurts. You know, they were built with love, they were built with passion. You know, they had an amazing number of memories on them, but eventually they ran their course. So now, with the newer materials we have, that stuff's 50 years is a warranty on that. So not 100, but 50. I usually laugh at 50. 100 is pretty remarkable. I laugh at 50 because I say our playgrounds are going to last 30 years. And I can say that, and I know it's going to be true. So if the wood ones are making it 20, 25 years, and yes, maybe 15 to 20 on the maintenance, this material we haven't touched since we started using it. Literally, you power wash it once or twice a year at most, and that stuff just sits there. It doesn't chip, doesn't rust, doesn't fade. We don't use red very much. Red and yellow, he's spot on. Two colors that don't work too well out there. So we do have a good product. I mean, they do make it, and we use some of it, but eventually, you know, that's going to be an issue. So we know this material, like I said, so we're planning. So as we talk to you and we collect your design ideas and try to figure out what you want within your community, we're processing all this information in the background so that we can put together the right package specifically for you. Every single playground is 100% custom design just for you, the way you want it, right down to the last little detail. So anyhow, main materials, post, framing, decking, handrail, balusters, that's all of that 50-year material. That's 90% of your playground. You know, the rest of it's basically the equipment. And that's still the weak link in what we have. Moving parts, you know, swings are swings. Anything that moves has a pivot point, you're going to have to maintain. Doesn't matter if it's landscape structures or us or anybody else. Once you get the equipment on there, those are the things that are going to, you know, eventually need more maintenance. Surfacing, you already talked about a little bit. You got 2 or 3 types. Simply put, we know everything about them. We can talk to you about them. You can choose, you know, loose fill. You can choose turf. You can choose rubber. They all have their pros and cons. It would be a great world if you said, hey, I got a, $1.5 million and I want to do this. That's fantastic. That's usually not very realistic. All right, so one of our things that we work with you, we can either reverse engineer, you can tell us a budget, and we'll try to maximize that budget with you after we get in all the feedback, and we'll develop that design. That would be an option, or we can start. We usually don't like to start. So going back, to your first playground, we met with communities because there was a need. You have a need. You're trying to accomplish something. Probably for the first 20 years of this company, there were no budgets on our playgrounds. We would come to you, meet with the kids, meet with the communities, and every single community went out and raised the money. Everyone, doesn't matter how much money it was. Every single community raised the money. Now, things have changed a little bit. So only because the world around us has changed. Our first clients were moms, dads, grandparents. They came to us. We worked with them. They came to the parks or the cities. And eventually they say, yeah, we'll give you land. Back then it was a great deal, and eventually they got transitioned. Now the owners of those are the Parks and Rec or the cities. They've had to maintain them and take care of them. So in the second round of this, our clients now are in municipalities. So yes, the citizens are a part of it, but the rules are different. It's not as easy as it used to be. So, we're working through all that in order to do the same thing that we did before. But can it be done? Absolutely. Can you raise the amount of money necessary? 300, 500? If you ask me, I'm going to tell you yes, I'll guarantee it. But it takes work. It takes effort. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to be automatic. We have a process that will guide you through it. We work with every community. We work hand in hand with you, fundraising, PR. We'll cover all those things. And is it possible? Absolutely. The warranties. So I had an email with a bunch of questions, so I snuck some of them in here. Most of them get answered anyhow. So warranties on our playground. So basically, you pick up the warranties of all the materials. So the main material, what I told you, is 90%. That's a 50-year warranty. One thing about warranties, you got to read the fine print on all of them. So I'll give you the literature. You can read them. So that, if it's 100 years or 50 years or they're prorated, there's lots of details around them. But the main materials is a true 50-year warranty on that stuff. It hasn't been around long enough for us to prove it. 15 years, something like that. We've done. I just know nothing's ever happened to it. So it's pretty crazy. The equipment, you pick up whatever the manufacturer is. So hopefully I can say this, but if we're lucky enough to win, and we draw from a lot of pools. So we build amazing structures, but one of the things that we've changed over time in our design is we don't build everything anymore. We used to build the monkey bars. We used to build the swings. Now we're opting to put more effort into the custom parts, the tree houses and the clubhouses and the boats and the ships, and make them truly custom. And we go to the manufacturers to get some different equipment. So normally we can draw from everybody. Once in a while that doesn't work because they don't want to play ball. But most of the time, if you want a piece of equipment, that's not a problem. So when you get to one of our playgrounds, and I'm going to be honest with you, I love landscape structures. They got high quality stuff. In our all-inclusive parks, they got a few pieces that we really like. They've got some competition now. Other people are starting to make them, but they were the inspiration to those other companies. But I like the quality of their stuff. But we utilize some of that in a lot of our playgrounds, especially some of the all-inclusive ones, because they're good pieces. So that's the other part of it. The main structure, is us, but now we purchase the swings, we purchase the rings and ladders. Can you make some of that stuff still? Yes, but we're advisors to you. You come to us, we give you all of these years of expertise to tell you where it's worth it and not worth it. But at the end of the day, you can still build a wood playground if you want. I just got talked into it a couple weeks ago. It's not exactly what I would recommend, but they save a lot of money. If you're going to save $150,000 and you say, hey, I'll put that towards the maintenance front, I don't know, maybe they got something. So we're not here to tell you what to do necessarily. We're just here to work with you and educate you and get your ideas and design-wise and try to figure out what the best solution is for you. So don't worry, just pick up whatever the equipment is. As far as maintenance after the fact, we have a dedicated staff person. We're not a big company. We're a family business. So you're talking to me now. You'll be talking to me throughout the project. Probably a good chance will be at your build. So we just turn our hats. We have a joke in the office, depending on what department we want to be on. So it's pretty comical, but it's a lot of fun. But as far as maintenance goes, if you need something, you've been in touch with us for over and over many times on the playground. We're always there. Simply pick up the phone, give us a call. We'll work through anything with you to try to help you find a solution. And even into the future, obviously. Let's see. Flexible process. So our design process, I'm going to do this one super fast, but basically the way it starts is what we call a design day. We did it back, how many years ago? 21 years ago, so plus or minus. So that's what we did then. We come into the community, we meet with the kids. You know, we're still unique in this. Others do design days, but not in the same way we do. So the goal is to get the kids out there to dream, to fantasize, to try to figure out what it is they really want to do to be creative and what's fun. That's how we got to be good designers. I can design a playground for you right here, right now. You're going to be okay, you know, but I won't do as good if I don't get the ideas from the kids and from you and from everybody else. That's where our inspiration comes from. That helps us to process all these years of changing and stuff. So we like to do the design day. If you're going to do community build, that's almost mandatory. It's basically the spark that gets everything going. So you really need it. The other option would be to do an in-office design. A lot of communities are doing that. Reach out to the kids and the community on their own, and then we'll collect that data and work with that, develop a design, either give it to you to present, or we'll come back and present it as well. So, you know, again, if you're going to go community build, and I'll talk about the contractor models in a minute. If you're going to go community build, a design day is without a doubt something that you want to utilize and take advantage of. And it's a tremendous amount of fun, but everybody gets inspired. It gets all the kids involved. Just a good opportunity. So like I said at the bottom of that, both of those are going to utilize the information we get from you for the design. So we really don't design a playground. If you say, just design me something, I don't care what it is, it's not going to happen. So not without us finding out a lot of information first. Design through construction. So each project, you get a project manager. So we're going to work with you through all the different phases, the whole thing, from design through construction. We got a lot of resources, jumpstart guides, planning guides. You had a planning guide in your first one. People used to call it the Bible. But if you follow it, boy, that thing really works. So we moved into the electronic world. So there's an electronic project management site you can go to. So yes, you know, we have all of those things too. Fundraising tools, budgeting tools. But the truth is we work with you through the whole thing. So if I'm going to be your project manager, you know, we're talking weekly or monthly, just depending on where you are in the process. We're talking about all this stuff, you know. So we're working with you for PR to get the community excited, through food that's going to be there for the build, volunteers, tools, materials, all of those things we work with you on in order to generate the community. This is how community build is successful. If you go through this process, and yes, it's work, you got to get a committee of 10 or 15 people, but if you get that, they're unstoppable. Simple as that. The heart's there, the passion's there, everything works. You get a huge savings on the money, so you get the end product, you get a bigger playground with more equipment for less money. And at the end of it, you get a generation or two of stories that are untouchable. Construction models, community build, you already know that one. You did it very successfully, I might add, on the first one. Same kind of thing. So 9 to 12 months is usually how long that process takes. It really depends on where you started. Going back again 10 or 15 years, it did take 9 months because nobody had money. So we had to raise money the entire time. In this day and age, sometimes the city's kicking some in, maybe they picked up a grant, maybe the fundraising supplemental. There's lots of options. So some projects come to us and they're blessed and they have the money. So obviously it doesn't take 12 months because that's one of the things that it takes. The second reason it takes a while to do the community build is to generate the excitement and the need and to build the momentum you need to be successful. So you really can't just do a community build 2 months from now. That really just doesn't harness enough energy and get enough people involved because it's an opportunity. It takes time to get everybody involved and plan for such a thing. The hybrid build, actually, before I get to these, I already mentioned this. My heart and soul is community build. There's no question about it. So it's changed who I am. It's changed my entire life. And it's just crazy, the stories, and I won't go through them all, but they're just heartfelt. They change people, and all for the better. They're extremely powerful. We did our first contractor build because one of our older playgrounds got torn down, and they wanted to rebuild it, and for whatever reason, it was in Ohio. I can't remember the reason why now, but they couldn't go community build. And so they were working it, but the community really wanted it. We started getting letters. People were calling all the time. So finally, at the last minute, we decided we'd build one because actually I'm a builder by trade too. It's what I like to do. But so this is kind of a one-time deal, and I should have realized it once we did that. and that would start something. So, so now we build some of them, but it's not where I would tell you to go first. It's where you should wind up if community build isn't an option for you. So that's why these other two reasons exist. Probably 99% of the projects that we build for you, so to speak, are G2 projects. We call them G2, Generation 2. So where we already had an existing playground and we went in and rebuilt it. So the second option would be a hybrid. That's simply between some community or some city or public works or maintenance staff, some leathers crew, and some volunteers. Pretty darn good model, I gotta admit. It really has a nice balance between it. So that one, that's a pretty solid one. The contractor build, that's simply turnkey. We come in and take care of it for you. We're good builders. We know exactly what we're doing. Sometimes people ask about the quality. Yeah, there might be a little difference in quality between the community build and the contractor build, because we have a little more controlled environment and people don't. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's a negligible difference at the end of the day. We're good on the community builds. That's what we specialize in. We can have 100 or 200 people to shift for 5 or 6 days and do pretty remarkable things with a very high quality, and we can assure that it meets all the standards when we're done. So basically you have 3 options: community build, hybrid build, and turnkey. So all of those options are available to you, and it's really up to you and working with us to try to evaluate and decide what makes sense for you. What is it you're looking for? What's going to give you the most value for your money? Why are you doing this? Is it just to put a playground in? So each one of ours are different. So, we get these ideas from you, from the kids, from the different communities. We can do architectural. We can do all kinds of different themes. Struggling a little with this guy. There we go. All-inclusive. The number one thing that's going right now, talking about that is where the playground world is at. By nature, every playground should be all-inclusive. It's an easy thing to say, but the fact that there's no definition for it, we're all making up our own versions of what this means. Leathers has one, Landscape probably does. All the companies, all the experts, they all have a version of what that means to them. All right, we have one. For me, it's simply they're playing shoulder to shoulder. What I really don't want is one of our playgrounds to be labeled all-inclusive, because to me it defeats the purpose right off the bat. What I want to do is just build a playground, turn around, and see all the kids playing together. That's the goal of it. I don't want to look at the playground and say, wow, that's all-inclusive. That's just the exact opposite of what I hope for. So in our earlier playgrounds, we put in ramps. We did all kinds of things like that long before this conversation came to the market. And it happened because when we met with the communities, they said, well, my kid's in a wheelchair. What can we do for that? And those kind of design things just started to unfold. Now it's a hot topic, and that's great. It should be. So it became law. The law is honestly kind of a joke. If you don't meet it, you should be embarrassed. But it really isn't pushing accessibility. We rarely do a playground that just barely meets that. It really just shouldn't happen. So all of our playgrounds, I say, hit midway, and then we push for all-inclusive. So an all-inclusive means the kids can play together as much as you can throughout that environment. Higher, lower, ground level. There's all different types of play. I won't go through them all, but how do you get everybody to play together so nobody's left out? That's the goal of our all-inclusive playgrounds. And to be frank with you, we're really good at it. 3 pushes for some reason. Oh, no, now we got 2. There we go. Developmental, age appropriate. So our first playgrounds, including yours, we didn't do tot lots. That really wasn't even in the market yet. It took a while for things to come around now. Well, there's standards that kind of tell you should anyhow, but the logic is pretty much common sense. So our rails for the older kids were, 38 inches plus or minus, and they work for the younger kids as well. So now our whole environment for the 2 to 5-year-olds is shrunk down to their abilities, their challenges, their developmental needs. So 2 to 5 is a tot lot, 5 to 12 is the older kids. That's standard kind of for everybody. There's a younger one too, 0 to 18 months or something like that. So, but most of our playgrounds have both of those environments. So we like to fence in the tot lot. So there's just one entrance. Number one thing we hear back on a lot of our playgrounds, how grateful the parents were that they could put their younger kids in that environment and not panic. They could sit by the entry and not worry about them running away. Older kids, quite accurate. You picked on it earlier, I mentioned earlier, just active. The kids are way more active. You know, at that age group, if they're not able to run around and climb and do all that, they're not going to be entertained very long. So it's a challenge, you know. But one of the things I like to say about our playgrounds, and ironically, Steve King was part of this movement too, but these composite structures that are connected, you know, that's the key to a lot of it. You know, rather than all these standalone pieces, even now, you know, when a lot of people that claim they're all-inclusive playgrounds, you look at them and they're kind of scattered all over the place. You know, that's an interesting design. Not going to say it's not good, but if you can create an environment where the kids are making choices all the time, they're playing, they're turning, they're ducking, they're moving, they're changing. They come back next week, they do it differently. Couple that with our themes and stuff like that, there's no reason, or there's no reason, I guess, why. Let me try to think. Pocatello. So somebody's taking a trip, they're driving along, they called us, they asked where the closest playground was. We sent them to one. It was an all-inclusive playground. They went out, the kids didn't want to leave. They were there for like 4 hours. They just want to stop for like 20 minutes and give them a break in the car. You know, and they stayed, they went back to hometown, said we had to have one, turned around and called us, and they built an all-inclusive playground. And their kid was in a wheelchair, forgot what he had, but it moved him so much because their kid didn't want to leave. It was like one of the first playgrounds they've been on. There's lots of options out there, but how you do this and how you entertain the kids and how you provide in their mind the challenges so they want to come back. Because to be honest with you, and I love you all, but it's not really about us. You know, we got ideas. I hear all kinds of them. I think all I care about at the end of the day was I just sit out there and watch them, and the kids are smiling and playing and having a good time. Yes, it matters, obviously. Aesthetically, it should look nice, and there's a lot of other safety things that go into play. But the goal is to make sure the kids come back and back and back. Lots of player environments. I won't go through them all. They had a nice chart that showed you all the different things. All of our playgrounds are inclusive of all these different things. There's not a playground we do that doesn't cover the variety of needs developmentally for all of the children within their age groups. Long pauses here. I'll skip one. So these are just a few I'm going to kind of clip through. 12,500 square feet. I'll always put a little plus or minus on all the numbers because, you know, just like he's talking about, I can give you ballparks, but until you get into it, you could be all over the map. Simply go from engineered wood fiber to rubber, you're up 100, 150,000 in our projects. Because most of our projects are 10 to 15,000 square feet. So right off the bat, your surfacing is one of your biggest cost factors if you switch it. Mountain, Texas. Again, each one of these, well, actually, everything you're looking at is all a plastic lumber, by the way. So that was one of our biggest concerns. How do we design something cool and fun, you know, and still have our design aesthetics that we're known for and do it out of plastic lumber? Because those projects that are wood like yours, and I come along from lead and say, hey, we're going to build it out of plastic. The first thing you think about, for the most part, oh, it's going to be just like everybody else. It's not even close. Not anywhere near as it. I mentioned about the equipment, so that's an accessible merry-go-round. Landscape Structures just came out with theirs, which I'm happy for. This one comes out of the UK. So we are good at knowing the different manufacturers and the different manufactured equipment that's out there. As far as I'm concerned, we picked the best of the litter, you know, and we're able to put it together in a unique combination. But again, in the all-inclusive world, you know, there's lots of options out there to try to do this. You see a lot of ramps in ours. We can design anything I want. It was a big deal when the manufacturers said they could do a 5-foot ramp. We can do a 10-foot ramp. You know, we can build a deck that holds 100 kids on it if we want. So the need comes from you. What do you want to accomplish in your designs? What is their purpose? What are your goals? What do you want? Because we can design it for you. So again, this is still the all plastic stuff. So we get some of our color. In today's world, going more towards the colored plastic lumber, a little less maintenance. But again, this is a conversation we'd have with you. Some of the most fun stuff, maybe at the very end on the bottom edge, the waves coming up there. You know, I can just cut out waves out of plastic, and yes, they're waves. And for the most part, kids buy it, you know, or we can do something super cool wave that you really look at for a while and you get lost just literally looking at it. You can't replicate it, you know, out of the plastic world as much. So we're still kind of picking and choosing here and there. But if you tell us you want like zero maintenance I would do a lot less of that. Because in 5 or 10 years, you're going to come back and touch up that painting. The value of community built, almost every project has the ability to go to an art community within your community. They would love to come out every 5 years and touch things up and paint it again. It's an opportunity, whereas we see it as a chore. Going fast. Okeechobee, again, lots of boats. Swamp buggy on the bottom. It's very, very fitting for their fan boat. Swamp tree house on the green one on the upper left. Routdale, Oregon, we just did this one. Again, almost every contractor bill we did is a replacement from the original ones, kind of similar to yours. Up by now, huh? Oh, that's about the last one. So these are just fun facts. 3 million volunteers, and that would be a low estimate on my part, is how many people have been involved in our projects. I don't go anywhere. I don't take a trip anymore, ever. I don't meet somebody new and say, what do you do? And say, I build playgrounds. And they kind of laugh. We have a good conversation. I say, yeah, the ones with those big pyramid roofs. Oh, yeah, I grew up on one of those. Or I helped on that, or my dad was involved in this, or my mom, or my grandparents, somebody. That's the power of community built. So again, we're tiny in this world. Yes, we've done 3,000, or I forget the number by now, almost 4,000 playgrounds. But the impact of those 4,000 playgrounds is remarkable. The stories that come and go with it are extremely powerful. They change everything. So yes, our playgrounds used to be a lot cheaper, but now we're using higher quality materials. Just the cost has gone up, safety's there. So now I'd say we're probably almost even with the manufacturer world, if we were going head to head on a contractor build. But in the community built world, we still can't be beat. You're going to get more money, and I'll be even, an equal product, let's call it. But the impact that you have and the opportunity to impact the community is second to none. Gotta get this to go one more. Oh, so close. All right. I'll skip that last one, just another picture. Somewhere in here is Wyatt Leathers and Associates. I'll leave you the thumb drive and you can look at that one on your own. So so you're old one. Hey, 13,200 square feet. What do you know? These are just some of the questions that came up that I got an email about. Let's see. I covered the warranty stuff. There were some prices in here. We had already given you some prices from before. So basically, and you got to love this number, $252, $930. Talking about exact, huh? That's an estimate. So, but in a community world, a community built world, to replace what you had, that's a reasonable number. I know the group now a little bit. I can just honestly, the number of people that are even just sitting in this room, there's a good turnout. I'm impressed. I've been here before, and there's been 2. They're like, we want to do community build. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about how that happens. Because this is how it happens. The fact that enough people care, and enough people want to be involved, that's what makes it work. So anyhow, plus or minus 250 do community built. If you're going to do a turnaround contractor one about the same size, you'd be looking at about 450. So look at the value of community built. It's right there. That's what it's about. I love to build. Honestly, I really don't want to build another one, so to speak. Maybe one a year. It's kind of fun to get out and get my hands dirty again. But short of that, what I really want is more communities to recognize and understand the value of community built and put that sweat equity into it. All-inclusive side of things, the numbers go up quite a bit. So 450 and 600. Again, these are just ballparks because I can make that $1 million probably pretty fast. Put in 4 or 5 pretty fancy pieces of equipment. Say you want to go port in place, that's the difference right there. So, it's $13 a square foot plus or minus over 30, what's it, 140 some thousand, something like that. So it's, just in rubber surface, and turf's almost the same. So if you're going to go for the higher end, you're going to go all inclusive. I'm not going to tell you they're not worth it, because they are, but at some point you cross that magic threshold. I've had this conversation thousands of times. Sit down afterwards and we talk about, where do we want to spend the money? I go for play value. So if you have a fixed budget and you don't want to supplement it with fundraising and stuff like that, you know, you have to be realistic sometimes. So do you want a third of the playground and have poured rubber or turf all around it? Maybe. And if that's what you want, that's an option. Or do you want to have the whole playground and all the play value, and then later on come back and put rubber or turf in? So there's lots of options and lots of choices that you need to think about doing this. I know you know this. You've been through it before, you know. So, but we're here to work with you on that. That's what we do. We're basically just advisors to help you try to sort through this. So, all right. I think I'm ready for questions. What did I miss? Yeah.
So that number goes up.
That'll go up 100 and it'll. Oh, look at that. How'd I do that? That was magic, huh?
I just want to make sure I was understanding. That's without surface.
That is with engineered, the 252 would be with engineered wood fiber.
But yeah, that doesn't mean.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, 250 is engineered wood fiber. If you wanted turf or whatever, it would go up, whatever the difference would be. So we would install any loose fill surfacing, which is engineered wood fiber or shredded rubber, which I wouldn't recommend anyhow, but we would install that as part of any project, any community build. If you do turf or port in place, kind of like everybody else, we get somebody to come in and do that. So there's too much liability when you're messing around with the surfacing. That's the truth. So trying to install the rubber, the turf, you know, you need to know what you're doing. You need to be good at it. It's got to have fall and impact attenuation into a certain height. So you can't do that just as an average person.
Say that everybody says all inclusive.
We'll price it out. Yep.
That price,
Yep.
do they?
Yep. Yeah, we got a couple of companies we like to use, especially, you know, ones that do the all-inclusive ones because they're bigger. You know, some of our inclusive parks are, you know, in the 25,000 square feet. And there's a couple of companies that I know will go way beyond their warranty to back up any problems that they have. Oh yeah, you can pretty much have anything you want. You know, for the most part, yeah. I mean, in our ideal world, I talk about old days and now. I'm pretty old still now. So, but anyhow, but you know, back kind of on day one, we would collect ideas and you talk about play experiences and stuff like that, and then we would come back and design something and pick and choose the equipment. And today's world, you know, information's just widely available. So now half the time we're like, hey, let's do other. But you come back and say, I want these 10 things. Sometimes we'll say, hey, here's another 2 options for this, and you can choose between them. Other times people are really adamant, so I really want that piece. That's fine. So the only place that we have a little bit of trouble in the manufacturer world is when stuff touches our equipment. So standalone equipment is easy, but if it's touching, is physically attached to our structures, everybody has their rules. So we're willing to play, but yeah, it's how they connect. Yeah, the roller slide on landscape structures has, you know, we like it, they let us use it, but we got to sign off on it, and I understand. We're willing. We will. We install it. We install all of it. Yep. Yep. Texas tomorrow, and they're doing one, and that was one of their questions was, but we planted those trees 20 some years ago. Part of it because we were in a lot of fields that didn't have any, and honestly, we just planted them knowing, but it was kind of like I don't know, you don't really plan that far ahead. But now I'm going back and I'm seeing literally these huge trees and some. But yeah, absolutely, we can work around the trees. Structure or trees? Yeah, 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 yeah. If you, I mean, really, yes is the answer. But really, this just comes down to budget. At the end of the day, how do you get to $1 million? Put rubber in, put shade over the whole thing, have 10 pieces of really fancy equipment, and fill the 13,800 square feet because we just spread it out a little. But the answer is yes. It's just a balance between the budget. And for us, like when I talk to you about this, I'm giving away all our secrets, but they do the same, I'm sure. So, but for us, it's about balance. I told you my tricks. I want to go for play value. You can add shade, but it'd be smart to design it in, ahead of time. So when you add it, it looks like it was meant to be, that kind of thing. You can change your surface and, later on and stuff like that. But it's hard to put in rubber, put in shade, and then say, wow, I wish this playground was twice as big. That's a little bit harder. Can you do it? Of course you can. We phased playgrounds before, but that's not normally where I would encourage you to start. Try to get everything from within the United States. That's why I'm happy that Landscape Structures is made there. So I'm not thrilled to go get. The funny part is so to answer your question, almost everything, because there's two pieces that we go outside for. That's the wheelchair accessible. It's called Ability World. It's a really high end product. It's awesome. So but again, these guys have a great reputation and we love their stuff. So I'm sure I'll be happy to switch because I really don't want to go outside for a zillion reasons. It's going up. Yeah, it already has some. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's. Oh, did I get it wrong? Wait, which one comes from which? One's the UK and one's Australia. So, Liberty Swing. That's the other one we get. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah. I mean, we change it now. So when we get those, we handle that for you now. So we got a broker that does it. But I'm always looking. We're always trying to find new stuff. And the market's always a fast moving one. And a little kudos to Landscape Structures. He's quite correct. These huge companies that come in and bought up like the playground world is horrible. So they now own 8 different companies. And it looks good on the outside because you think they're all competing, but when you look on the inside, they're all partners. They're all under one company. So really, Landscape Structures is unique in that area. All the other ones, they own everybody. There's 3 or 4 of them. That's it. It happens. So tiniest guys, big guys, and then going big. That's a joke. Oh yeah, yeah. On our community bills, we're always there. That's the only way it works. So usually we have 2, might have 3 maybe at the most. But we don't do that. We don't come out for free, once a year to do that. We'll work with you for whatever your needs are. We didn't used to do audits and assessments. We only work on our own stuff, first of all. We don't do this for anything else. But if you ever had a problem with your playground, like if something was wrong, we would find a way. And if we're traveling around, we'd stop by. Technically, I mean, you have to develop some kind of program to maintain your playground. You should. We got a guy that helps you do that, and you should establish that, and we can work with you on that. But as far as like an official audit goes, unless the standards change or there's something drastic, the rules haven't changed. So the audit's to kind of make sure you're up to date if there's been a rule change and stuff like that. But we have an assessment service that's $1,800, to come do that. But that's really more for projects that are in your condition now. So if you come to us like, well, right now I moved to Florida. We got Ithaca and Ithaca, New York, and Florida, where we're out of. So, but around where I am, I've offered a couple close. I'm there, so I say, hey, if you need anything, I'll come out once a year and do that for like $100 or something silly. But honestly, we travel all over all the time. So if you ever had a problem with anything, we'd be happy to stop by and check it out and find a solution. Yes. For the bill itself, So typically, our projects are 5 or 6 days. So they rarely go beyond that. So almost everything we do, what changes is the number of volunteers you need. But if you're going to do a replacement for this one of a pretty high caliber, I think you're looking at 5 or 6 days, probably, I don't know, 100, 125 people, something like that. So normally, we usually start on Wednesday, finish on a Sunday. So, weekdays a little bit harder. Sometimes the evening numbers pick up. So we know you're not going to, and then usually the weekends, sometimes we get 200-300 people, because that's when they can help. So. Yeah, our bill itself, if you do loose fill, that's part of it. You'd still be done in the 5 to 6 days. If you were going to do poured in place rubber or turf, the day we get done, they come in. Almost every one we've done, including the ones that are 25,000 square feet, they're done within a week. Yes. I didn't do the math, but ask me how many. I didn't run the numbers. So let's see, we're plus or minus 12-hour days, average 100 people for 5 or 6 days. It's a lot. It's the difference between those numbers almost at the end of the day. I mean, really, that's what it's about. We can send 2 people and you can build it for free, or we can come build it for you, but obviously, you got. Yeah, we got a chart, so I have an answer to that. I can't do the math anymore fast enough in my head, but when you work with us, we give you a volunteer numbers chart, and it talks about skilled and unskilled people, and at the bottom it has a little asterisk that said, assuming people come for 3 shifts, because honestly, that's what happens. All you got to do is get them there once. If they're coming for 4 hours or 1 day, I will promise you they're coming back.
You said there's a warranty material.
I haven't run into that too much, but the ones that we do, I'd say you have an automatic year. That's without any conversation or discussion. So if anything happens in the first year, I mean, I'm confident in this. So we've done numerous ones now. I've never gone back yet. So,
And then if it's a community and something goes wrong, can you come out and help us?
We will always help you one way or another. So usually, give us a call, shoot us an email. Good chance you're going to talk to me, because I like to know what's going on the maintenance world of everything. So I hear about everything that comes into the office. So, and then we'll look at it, evaluate, and try to figure out what the best way is. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe somehow a net or something's worn. It's easy replacement. You can handle that yourself. Other times, maybe it involves, having one of us come out and work with a couple of people, or you might say, hey, can you guys just take care of that? All of those are options. So literally that kind of question, and what kind of build you want, like the hybrid version of this, there are no rules. You either go community build or turnkey, and then there's a zillion options in between that we mess with. We worked with Pace, Florida. This will be our 3rd time working with them. They've done a big renovation. What was that? Oh, must be a bulb. Yeah, that was scary. I was like, all right, wow, let's take a break now. I lost my focus now. Jeez, yeah. The real quick, so the Pace Florida one, so we worked with their staff. They happen to have a big staff. They had 20 people, and they have a military, I think it's a helicopter training. So it's been like 5 of us, 15 of them, and 10, and that's a hybrid version. Or, there's all kinds of versions. We're just interested in trying to figure out how to save the money. So. Yep. We're going to speak on your behalf. That's how this works. You pick up the phone. Everybody that supplies us, I know pretty well. So, I call them up and they know us. We don't have written agreement, so to speak. But yeah, first of all, they have a warranty, so they kind of have to take care of it. But we handle that conversation for you. I got one right now in Cedar Hill. They have a little spring rocker problem, and I'm working out with the manufacturer and, helping them take care of that. So. Yep, cooperative purchasing group, yep. That is not something that works out that well for us. If you do the contractor version of it, we can talk about some options that open itself up. If you do community built, you don't have to worry about it anyhow. Technically speaking, you should be able to do a community built without, what you have to figure out how to do is deal with the materials. How are you going to purchase the materials and stuff like that? There's a few ways, in the old school days, so to speak, it was an outside group that did it, in the city, usually, or the parks usually wasn't even involved. In today's world, those groups still exist. A lot of them are not-for-profits. A lot of the original ones we did are still there. And then they partner up with them and they give them the money, but they have control of what they're able to do. So there's a few workarounds that are legal that people do all the time that can help with that. But as far as being a part of that group, it doesn't work as well for us. It's much more suited for the manufacturers. Still going. Pumped up now. What I miss? Anything? Any last questions? Or yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, well, there's a zillion different colors. So we could get the browns, there's 3 or 4 color browns and tans. We could play with all those combinations and some greens or something and make it, yeah. I mean, our normal palette would be like earth tones, trees, brown, green. Those are, unless you tell us, you're not going to see too much red or blue or yellow or just, I don't know, it's just not our color palette, but you're the client. So we've got some where we got 10 turrets and they're all a different color. It happens. I left it with him, yes. Yep. I didn't get 20, sorry, though. Maybe. You got me on that. So, and I assume you guys have our brochures and stuff, all right? I got some with me if you don't. I can leave them with you if you want, but yeah. Yep. And obviously, if I miss something and you need something, just give me a call, shoot me an email. Happy to. Yeah, I think that's kind of go through it. So, yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot to process. So you got some thinking to do. Yeah. 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 All right. Well, I appreciate it. So thank you very much. So.
Next speaker presentation, it's a short one, is with Peter Grimaldi. He's the VP of Gardens and Facilities at Cheekwood. You had something you want to come present?
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for having me this evening. I have the pleasure of working with the teams at Cheekwood that maintain the gardens and the historic estate, create a lot of magic around there. I also manage all the design and construction of new buildings and gardens at Cheekwood. And we're building a children's garden right now. I also have experience building a successful children's garden at my past institution, Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And really just wanted to come tonight and offer my quick advice and make myself available to the Parks and Landscape Board and the community in Fairview as a neighbor at Cheekwood and a resident in Fairview. In full disclosure, my lovely wife is on the Parks and Landscape Board. So thank you again for having me. And I also have a lot of experience designing and building things that lots of people and communities of people care about and like to have input on. So I wanted to just say, really touch on three things as you guys embark on this project as a community, which I congratulate you on. And that's just quickly maintenance, accessibility, and then really kind of the relevance or intent of your design. And as someone that both builds new spaces and maintains new spaces, you need to think about maintenance right now. You need to engage your designer in long-lasting and low-maintenance materials. You need to write a maintenance budget for the finished product right now. Determine whether or not the city can operationalize that, or whether or not you all need to grow this project to possibly engage the Friends group and build an endowment for the capital maintenance and improvements and ultimately replacement of the structure. So, you know, sustainability, I like to say, is maintainability. So, and that starts now in the design phase. And then quickly about accessibility, you should be thinking about, or I like to think about it in really two ways in garden spaces, and specifically children's garden spaces. But there's accessibility to and through the space, literally from your parking lot, your parking space, up the hill. Your playground is your challenge with building on top of a hill. From your parking space to the playground, around the playground, and through the playground. And just, you know, y'all are, this is a city, so you'll figure out what the proper accessibility standards are, but just determine what those will be, whether that at Cheekwood, often the full extent of ADA standards are not achievable on an historic site that is also on a hill, and so we strive to achieve the Federal Access Board's guidelines for outdoor developed areas, which has been a very reasonable way to kind of control it for us. But what I'm saying is know what you're trying to achieve with respect to accessibility standards. And I'm not an expert on playground accessibility and the accessibility of playground equipment. Your designer and contractor should be. But with respect to the law and which laws that you guys are going to say that you're going to follow, just know what those are and then be careful about how you describe it, because you cannot build something, for example, that is built to the Access Board's guidelines and call it ADA accessible. So just kind of write it, decide what it is, write it down, and then just stick to it the whole way. And then just lastly, think about how much relevance you this playground, the structure itself, should have to the park, whether that's an aesthetic connection or a connection to the greater place. Decide what that is as a group, and then just be honest about it and move forward. If you want this to be just the most awesome and all-inclusive playground in the world in the same spot, then just own it, and more power to you. But I would encourage you to, not try and make it to be more than it possibly can be. And I think there are also always opportunities for very low cost, outdoor and exploratory nature-based play, which you could do immediately attached to the playground experience or in a totally different part of the park. So just kind of decide as a group what you want it to look like, and then tell your designers what you want it to look like, and make sure that you get that. So that's sort of my experience building places for kids. You need to build a ramp. I mean, that's my first impression. Well, it's in the middle of a, a nature preserve, so that would make sense. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is the last section, which is some administrative tasks and updates, and maybe if there's any other questions in general about the project. I was going to say we sit up here, but this is mostly informational, so we'll just talk about it here, and there'll be a couple of talking points. There is a website for the project. It's still being set up, populated now. We're plugging in a calendar module so we can track schedules and share the different meetings and timelines and all that. I'm hoping it'll be ready before the next meeting. I'm going to go ahead and start putting documents on it next week so that we can start actually telling people to go out there for some of the materials we've received or some of the initial kind of project scope, mission of the project, the team glossary, these different groups so that people can kind of see where they might want to plug in to volunteer. Mailing list, I've worked with Eileen in the past week and brought sign-up sheets from the city and people that have contacted Eileen, people that have contacted me, and so I think we've got a unified, unduplicated list. Can you remind me how many that we have, you think, unduplicated at this point? Excellent. 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 And on the website, we'll have a place where you can actually sign up if you're not sure you're on the list, you can check, and then you can add your name, and also kind of allow you to express interest in certain areas. There's different teams that are going to kick in at different times, from the design selection to a core team to some of the fundraising teams, hospitality and thank you teams. So depending on your availability and skill set and what you're interested in, there's lots of different places through the project life cycle to do things, even if you're not necessarily good with a wrench or a saw. Nonprofit partner update, the Friends of Bowie, we're working with them now. We've got a series of questions that we've got to resolve with the city, mainly around insurance, liability, long-term liability, short-term liability through the project life cycle, and the ultimate transition of the city. I'm hoping to get have those discussions maybe next week and get some answers so that we can make sure we're structured okay on the nonprofit side on how we store, handle, and who the insured parties are as we go forward in these different phases. Determine the dates. This was a combination core and design team meeting. I think we're still in that mode. We've got homework to read and understand here. We might have a couple of other vendors we can bring in, but if not, then at least come through and start breaking down our own. We've heard, we will design what you need, tell us what you need. Well, here's the blueprint of all the things that we could offer so that we can start penciling that together and kind of debating a little bit about those pieces. And I know there's been a survey. Incorporate that feedback and then perhaps take it to another level of doing one of these sites where the school kids get to input or not on. Okay, excellent. So we need to incorporate all that. So there's still a lot of debate and taking all this information we've kind of been flooded with so far and narrowing it down to the scope that we have in front of us. And at that point, we'll get closer and closer to the point where we can start answering the question, how much will it cost and how long will it take? But I think we're still a bit out from that. We need to get maybe a couple more vendors to understand and then start penciling together. It's like how much does the kitchen cost? Depends on what you want in it, your appliances. So we need to get to the area where we can eloquently answer that and describe that. So with that, Wednesdays, I looked at the city calendar, Wednesdays are open here. So I'm thinking maybe the next meeting we could go ahead and set now, even though we don't necessarily know if we're going to have a vendor or that fixed agenda yet. Go ahead and lock it in for calendars. And I would suggest November 6th, if that works. Same time, 6 p.m. And then we will develop this and refine this agenda up to that point on what we'll cover in that discussion. Hopefully have another vendor presentation or two. It's the Bowie Playground project is what this is called. So this was a meeting here for that project, and this is a citizens group versus a city group. It's not part of the Parks and Landscaping Board. It's not part of the BOC. We're here as citizens to collect all this information, collect community feedback. From that, work on that design layout of the playground. With that, get those costs. And through this committee, refine all that, crunch it till we get either the best recommendation or maybe the best recommendation and a couple of alternatives that were high up there, but here's the reasons why. Ultimately, we'll come back to the BOC with that, and they're going to look at that, which is going to have the design, the cost, the timeline, the maintenance. Ultimately, they would need to approve that because they're going to take ownership of that when the project's complete. Once they give that thumbs up, we're ready to concentrate mainly on fundraising against that timeline schedule because we'll know what we're fundraising against. And I think it'll be easier to fundraise when you can show somebody a picture, right? Here's what we're building versus, hey, it's just a playground. We need to get people to visualize that a little bit.
Did you say Wednesday at 6, or are you going to wait and see if we have somebody?
No, I think we need to meet regardless for the homework that we've got here. But if we can get some additional vendors, the more information we can get.
Sorry to interrupt you. Then you brought up insurance.
That's one of many questions. That's one of many. I mean, there's things like absolutely, and even if you've got an insurance policy out there, there's cases that come up, they blow that deduct, that you got another $1 million you got to come up with depending on what happens. So there's things like that. There's, say we've got some equipment staged and it's stolen. We've got a contractor, there's a volunteer that gets hurt. We've got a bank system collapse, and FDIC only, can only fund us to a certain amount. Well, we've got more than that. What's our plan there? So there's, and then who's the underwriter? I mean, who's the ultimate agent? Certain things might be, we're a citizens group, so the citizens group can't be that agent because we're not incorporated. We're not a business entity. However, there's the friends, which might have some component depending on the nature of it, and then there's the city, which would have, as the landowner, other components. So we've got to sit with the city, determine what that landscape looks like, understand those 12 liabilities, and who falls on which plate and how we get those covered. So that's to come in the next couple of weeks, working with several people. So November 6th, Wednesday, that's what I can go ahead and publish, and I will start putting this stuff on the website so we can start pushing people out. If you've got an email in there, then you can get on some mailing lists so you can get an automatic update through your mail once a month. Say, here's what progress was made, here's where we're at, here's the newest plans, go out to the website and look. Yes? Yes, once we get it ready for prime time, we'll have a link on the city website. We've got a Facebook group page being set up that can link and share other little tidbits and reminders and pump them out. Yes, so once we're there, we'll have them linked, so no matter where you enter the system, you can get there, even if you're unfamiliar with it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Skyrider. So November 6th, I'll go ahead and get that scheduled in there, which is a Wednesday. And then the action items, I had a list for just open things if anybody's got items that they feel that we should be try to address between now and then for that meeting. Is Nancy the one that presented about that? That would be great, yes. That's correct. I mean, if there's a vendor that specializes in it, I'd like to hear their presentation, just again from a nomenclature standpoint, so that as we sit down and we start debating, we've kind of gotten familiar with the syntax. Yes, I would agree.
Because, you know, some of us.
Yeah, and I actually wasn't in that discussion either. I was out of town. So, um, any general questions from anybody at this point? Because I was out of town, I think, when that discussion, so somebody, the city has already put the card in the hat to see if we're gonna get drawn, right? Okay. So this is a good exercise all the way up to that point, under the assumption that we won't get it, and then we can shift that gears and make that evaluation if we're lucky enough for somebody to say we'd like to. Have that cash.
Playground as a whole.
Jumpstart.
Funding,
Comes quicker than you think. Other questions or comments for today? Well, thanks everybody for coming. Yeah, it was good info.